Hi everybody, Louise Eddington, Cosmic Owl Astrology. I am here today to talk about the lunar eclipse that's happening on September the 7th, and it's a whopper. But before we dive into all of that, I would like to remind you to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, share if you like it, whatever you want to do. Also, my book, Ceres in Astrology, is doing really well. Thank you very much to everybody that's bought it. It's available on Amazon and all booksellers. Signed copies are also still available on sacredthreadsimprint.com, my website, or the publishing website. And if you have the book and you bought it elsewhere, you can leave reviews on any Amazon site in whichever country under the Kindle version. If you wouldn't mind, reviews really matter. They help it get up the rankings. So this eclipse is huge. And as usual, I've pulled a card. I'm going to look at the numbers. I'm going to look at the symbols. And there's a couple of other things I want to talk about as well. But I'll give you a glimpse of the card, the Goddess of Discs. So I like the card. And whilst it's a whopper, and I think there's going to be an awful lot of purging on this full moon, I do feel that it's going to kind of break the back of something in very many ways. Eclipses are always powerful. They are new and full moon eclipses that happen near the lunar nodes. So we'll look at the chart first, well, in a minute. But there's one other thing that's happening with this full moon lunar eclipse, or that's coming up. So the full moon is on September the 7th, and Pluto is about to go out of bounds. Now, Pluto goes out of bounds not very often, okay, and they're quite significant periods. There's a book called Persephone's Revolution by Rosie Finn, and you can find a few interviews with her about this, but I will say that this eclipse and the one after are occurring almost exactly as we have the eclipse. So we have the eclipse on September the 7th, and Pluto officially goes out of bounds, according to Rosie Finn, on September the 11th, 2025, and will be out of bounds till November the 9th, 2025. Now, that's not very far out of bounds, but what does that mean? Okay, when a planet goes out of bounds, it's beyond the rules of the sun, if you like, of our solar system. It's kind of eccentric energy. It does things very differently. And this is the last period that Pluto will go out of bounds for a long time. So I'm actually going to show you her table. This is an astro.com article that she had published. So if you search Rosie Finn, Pluto out of bounds, you'll find this article. So you can see that Pluto goes out of bounds this year and 2026, and then stops going out of bounds in 2035. And Pluto does not go out of bounds again for a long, long time. I want you to take note as well that the degree that it goes out of bounds at is said to be a real sensitive point in space. So she actually says where Pluto goes into extreme declination. So I'll do another video on that to kind of, I've got to research this a little bit more, but this is powerful. Now, the good thing is that Pluto is, I'm going to stop the share, that Pluto is going out of bounds. let me check this. I've got this right, because this is Rosie Finn spent a long time researching this. Pluto is going out of bounds south of the ecliptic, and in her book, Rosie says that this coincides with periods of enlightenment. Now then, not only is it another period of enlightenment, again, you can actually read the article. I'll post it in I'll post it in the comments. Okay. She says that when Pluto goes out of bounds south, they are periods of expansion and justice and enlightenment and awakening. They are good times. So, this kind of adds to what I've been saying about all these planets changing signs, Pluto being one of them. So anyway, I've got to research this a lot more, but I wanted you to know this because this adds to the heightened energy of this eclipse season in a big way. But let's have a look at this eclipse itself, the eclipse chart. And this chart is a lunar total eclipse. Lunar eclipses are generally not thought to be as impactful as solar eclipses, but this one is pretty powerful for many reasons, not least of which it's a total eclipse, so it's a blood red moon. So this will pass over southern hemisphere areas. If you want to see if you're going to be able to see it, timeanddate.com always has amazing eclipse maps. We will not see this in the northern hemisphere because you can see that it's happening at 2:08 p.m. Eastern time, and so it's daylight. So it's not nighttime here, which is where you see a lunar eclipse. Okay, now then, this eclipse is a Pisces eclipse with the moon in Pisces on the north node. So this is moving towards something, and there's quite a lot of energy around this that I will talk about, but a couple of things I want to mention. So this is, and moon is conjunct the Pisces north node, is also conjunct Nessus, which is the buck stops here, or kind of like revealing abuses of power, and so on and so forth. I've seen this over and over again active in recent years and months as revealing all the abuses of power of those that are in power. But this is also abusing power, in your families, if you have energies aspected by it, or also, it could be abuses of power anywhere, churches, governments, wherever anybody feels like they have power over. Okay, whether consciously or unconsciously. This has been a huge collective journey as we realize how much the structures of our world have had power over us. And I find it quite funny, actually. There's a thing about deconstruction that's been going on and building, and I just had this extra thought this morning. Somebody might have thought of this, but people are deconstructing the structures of religion. People are deconstructing the colonialism and racism. And I might start a podcast about deconstructing astrology. Thanks to Steve Judd calling me the almost but not quite cyberpunk priestess. Anyway, enough about me. So as it's a full moon eclipse, it's opposing the sun, and the sun is at 15 Virgo conjunct the south node, which is like the drain. This is the releasing end. This is the releasing end of the shadow, though, and collectively, when we have things happening around the south node, things are released. I'll talk more about that in a minute. The sun is also conjunct Mercury. Mercury is what's called combusts the sun on this eclipse, right under the beams. It's well within 5 degrees, so it's heading towards a cazimi, and Mercury is the guide for the sign of Virgo. So whatever information or ideas and thoughts are ready to be released on this eclipse, it's going to be big because Mercury is in its own sign and under the beams of the sun and on the south node. And the Mercury is actually within 8 degrees of the south node on this. Other things I'm going to talk about is that we still have, I'm going to say we still have a kite pattern. It's pretty loose, but we have Hecate here at 15 Scorpio. As always, she's right behind me, the goddess of the crossroads, shining her light. She is at 15 degrees of Scorpio, which is one of the world points because it's the middle sign of the fixed signs. This adds to the fact that this is a turning point. But then we also have Jupiter over here at 19 Cancer. I'm going to say this is an eclipse, so this is big enough that these are speaking to each other. Jupiter to the Sun, the south node, and Mercury, and then Hecate over here. There's going to be some big shifts, and then it's all forming a kite. So the string is the drain or the south node or what we are letting go of. A couple of other things to mention is that Venus is at 15 Leo, another world point, and square to Hecate. Venus and Hecate often work together as the triple moon goddess helped Persephone's mother, Venus' mother, to find Persephone emerging from the underworld. And Venus is at the degree that Mercury recently stationed retrograde at, which is another world point. But Venus is now in a lovely fire grand trine with Ceres or Demeter. So Venus is speaking to some of the players in that mythic story, which is being rewritten, thank the Lord. So I'll speak to all of that, but I also do want to mention that because Ceres has moved back to 14 Aries, Ceres is squaring the degree 14 Cancer, where Venus, Jupiter, and Sirius all met on August the 12th. So, this is a big, degrees matter when things are activated in this way. So I'm going to stop the share and really kind of talk a little bit about the energy of this. But first we want to look at the energy of Virgo and Pisces, because the Virgo-Pisces axis is really the energy of the practical mystic, or the connection between the interconnectedness and the practical, or the real and the mundane in many ways. So, we can see that this has us coming into this age of more interconnectedness. And it's not working alone, because we've had eclipses in Virgo and Pisces, of course, before. And I'm not going to go back and look at all the other ones, because this one is very much on its own in many ways, I think. But because of all the other planets changing signs and speaking to each other. But I am going to say that there's a purification kind of energy to Virgo-Pisces axis. Virgo is, let's read you some keywords, because, this is such a complex eclipse. So Virgo is a sign of service, okay, and Virgo is very much about, Virgo is very much about being useful, being doing meaningful work. It's also about analysis. So the shadow of it can be narrow-minded, neat, and nitpicking. It can be For example, the energy of the astrologer who came into my DMs and saying, well, I'm going to nitpick the chart you used for the discovery chart of Ceres, which is AA rated, by the way, on Astro Databank, but based on, for very good reasons, why it's based on. But, this is that energy of, no, I know better. Virgo can be like that in the shadow. It can be quite pedantic, quite perfectionist, but it's also very helpful, very much of service, very much of doing meaningful, useful work in the world. And it's very much about self-improvement as well. You can see that, oh gosh, no, I can't remember what I was going to say. That's all right. No, we will move on. And then we have Pisces, which is really about belief or trust or surrender or faith. Pisces is the most nebulous sign. It's about compassionate healing. It's about inspiration and oneness and interconnectedness, but it's also very deceptive and can be very nebulous to grab hold of. But it's also about multiplicity and that connection with it, whatever it is, the divine. It's very fluid. But Virgo and Pisces are also mutable signs. So this is very, very changeable energy, right? So, I think that's given you a little kind of flavor of the energy of the eclipse itself. Then we have Mercury with the sun on the south node in Virgo. Letting go, circling the drain in many ways of these things, these details or facts. Virgo can be the facts of what we believe to be true, so that what can emerge is what is really meaningful for ourselves. Okay, so I love that. What's his name? Nick Dagan Best. He was on Dabney Lawless's channel, calling it Circling the Drain. He said that because the Sun and Mercury are moving towards the South Node, and this makes very much sense to me, but also Venus is, and Jupiter is, and Uranus is, Chiron is, Eris is, if you want to bring her in, Ceres is, Neptune is, Saturn is, Nessus is. They're all moving towards the South Node. This is one heck of a big release. The only major bodies moving towards the North Node are the Moon, the people in mundane astrology, or also our emotions. Mars in Libra has got a long way, but it's moving towards it, and Pluto, when it stations direct, is moving towards that North Node. This, to me, speaks to the rise of the people again, and a time that's potentially good. I see this more as the release, the letting go of the patriarchy once more. And we'll look at the symbols about that. Now, on a more kind of mundane kind of energy level, all this energy with all this energy in Pisces, in the North Node, and Virgo with it being Earth, and so on. I think we can really, I want the geodetic map. Eclipses, map style, show lines. Why can't I change it to geodetic map? Bear with me 1 second while I try and get this. Oh, sorry. No, I should have done this before. Maybe I'll do another video about this because I want to look where this eclipse is happening in the world on what's called a geodetic map. But I can't get to it for some reason. My software has changed. It's oh no, not doing it. Okay, so anyway, there's enough to say about this. There's likely to be some big weather events. Eclipses often happen during hurricane season. This is particularly big with the Earth and the water, and with Jupiter and Hecate in Cancer both aspecting it, but also some other big energies in water signs. I would not be surprised if there is some literal kind of purification in many ways, thanks to Mother Nature. The fact that Venus and Ceres are also aspecting each other in fire signs means the fire season, which is we can see is ramping up already, could also bring some literal kind of purification. But I do not like to kind of go to those kind of places, right? So, we're talking about what this means for you in the most part. Now then, I want to talk about a couple of other asteroids though. We have asteroids Pandora and Orcus at 16 Virgo on this eclipse. Pandora, if you remember, Pandora's box. Once things are out of the box, there's no putting the lid back on. Okay, so that's on the south node. So what is going to be released? Are these Epstein files, for example, going to be released? I believe that they are going to reveal a whole global network of awful kind of child trafficking and so on. And I think people do need to know this. I think it's way beyond the current apparent member of the or occupant of the Oval Office. Also at 16 degrees of Virgo on this eclipse is Orcus, Orcus the whale. And if you remember, orca whales have been going around and sinking ships for a while. And that's another sign of kind of nature or the or the energy of interconnectedness striking back, in my opinion. So there's another one. I want to look at a couple of other asteroids that are there was none on the North Node particularly, but Bacchus and Poseidon are at 15 Scorpio, exactly conjunct Hecate. Poseidon, god of the ocean, god of the sea, he would be quite smiting, if you like, in many ways. And Bacchus is the energy of ecstasy, the wine, god of wine. And all of this has so many layers about stepping into that energy of Earth's energy, of stepping into your body, of dancing with the interconnectedness of it all and bringing everything back into more spiritual, more loving, higher love, more unconditional love kind of energy. The focus is still the North Node. In fact, I just had a reading for a client whose chart was very activated by this, and I'm not going to give her personal details, but we talked about this impacting her directly, about coming from this energy of unconditional love rather than trying to fix others. And so, in some respect, that could be the overarching kind of energy for this full moon. It's almost about loving them, even though, we know that we don't like what they're doing or whatever. So, for you personally, it's kind of about acceptance, going with the flow, surrendering that we are at this massive, massive crossroads. And the best thing you can do is step into this place of higher love, acceptance, surrender, and trust. that if you are struggling to find your meaningful work in the world, that you will do, that others will, that the world is changing in that respect as well. Okay. But all of that said, this is still very, very emotional because it's a total lunar eclipse. We are not going to like some of what circles the drain and goes down it. We are not going to like having to let go of some things. Virgo in itself, in many ways, is quite humble, and perhaps many people are going to have to let go or be let go of some material things in the world. And that brings me kind of to the Venus and Ceres aspect. Do you have too much stuff? You know, we've been through this period of greed is good. Are you literally burning off that which doesn't meet your needs anymore and letting go of the need for all this excess? Venus in Leo can be excess. I need more gold. I need more riches. Instead, moving in to find your inner gold. Okay. Anyway, so a reminder again to subscribe, like, all those things. I've had a number of you complaining about ads on YouTube. Do know that YouTube recently changed its algorithm for people like me who are partners who earn money from these videos, from your views and all your thumbs up and all the algorithms. We have very little control over how many videos YouTube puts out. If you want to complain, complain. But you know, some of us want to earn some money for doing all this work. That's not greed is good. It's not an earth-shattering change of money, but it takes a lot of time to put this content out. That's the positive side of Venus in Leo, right? It's saying, own my value, okay, and do your meaningful work in the world, but own your value in the meantime. Don't think you have to give everything away for free. So, you know, if you can moan in the comments, but whatever, but I pay for YouTube premium, so I don't have any adverts. So you have that option too. But anyway, 15 degrees. Number 15 is the key word for the number 15 is spirited. This is really about having a lot of spunk. Okay, but it's also, it's the energy of number 1, independence, with freedom loving, changeable and receptive energy, number 5, but then it mixes to make the 6, which is the mother number in many ways, and a gentle and loving foundation. So can you see that you're bringing all that energy of wholeness together, your mind, body, spirit, in your own interconnectedness in a very spunky way, to step further into doing meaningful work in the world, practical work that is based on interconnectedness and the connection with source and spirit. Everything is moving into this quantum realm. So I'm not going to go on about the number more, but I do want to read you the Sabian symbol first of all. No, actually, I'm going to save that one because I love the Sabian symbol, but we'll go to John Sandbacher's symbols first of all for this new moon, then we'll look at the card. So I'm actually just going to read. No, I'm going to read his Omega symbol. So for Pisces 16, because we go by where the moon is, we go, the Omega symbol is a troll living under a bridge. And he said this is manifesting experimental. And he said the degree angel for this degree is Yael. Okay. Letting go mental force. This degree seeks a simple, independent, and often isolated existence on the periphery of human endeavors. It knows how to get along with little. What did I say? Okay, not saying you have to give everything away, but some people are going to be forced to, right? Okay, so, and avoids complexities that might get in the way of its intensely inward focus. It has highly unique gifts and knows how to work silently and unobtrusively to make special contributions to the world, contributions that may be beyond the comprehension of others. Then the Chandra symbol is a peaceful child on a narrow ledge that overlooks a precipice. This degree finds itself in limiting, confining situations, but rather than struggling against these, takes an innocent, calm approach to them, often simply observing them and waiting. And often this serene attitude and attentiveness will dissolve problems that at first seemed insurmountable. The precipice could be threatening, and so could the troll under the bridge. If we wish to cross the bridge or descend into the precipice or remove ourselves from it, we must be sensitive to what the situation requires, to what we need to do to make the desired transition. This degree, sub-ruled by the cautious sign of Capricorn, might be called the degree of patient outworking. I actually kind of read this a lot more as patience, waiting, knowing that the flow and that the release is coming, acceptance of the things you cannot change, and just kind of allowing yourself to sit on that ledge. And with Mercury in Virgo being analysis paralysis in many ways, and Mercury being on the South Node and combust the Sun, it's kind of going, let go of all that. This, whatever is happening or changing or letting go of, can't be fixed by any kind of rational kind of, oh, you know, doing. Okay, this is a degree that's moving towards the flow. I'm going to read Elias Lonsdale's interpretation of a peaceful child on a narrow ledge. Okay. Fate has set the pattern. I'm going to say destiny has set the pattern. You are held fast by destiny, yet inwardly you are so deeply and fundamentally free that you are actually submitting to your destiny from a true and pure place. The situation you pull in is outwardly severe. You are a vast being trapped in a tiny form. Oh, just checking something. And you cannot really go anywhere or do anything to change this. Instead, you are released by your outward bondage to dream, to remember, to envision, and to make cosmic connections. The inner life is boundlessly rich. The outer life is starkly poor. But if you live within, make good on the past, cleanse and open, and know that nothing is as it seems, and form is tissue thin. That one speaks really well to me, especially if you change fate to destiny, which I prefer. Now then, the Sabian symbol is the flow of inspiration. And James Burgess says, finding grace in stillness. Can you see how this is all echoing? Okay. An important part of your life is to find inner peace. Connect here and now with the eternal everywhere. Any creative person is at the point of connectedness between the hidden source of inspiration and their immediate time and place. Each moment has its own unique qualities, scenarios, and needs, and an inspiration can be found by those who have learned how to tune in to the quietness that surrounds us all. Often called the muse or guides or angels, there is some aware force of life that directs itself to address the questions of the moment in original ways. This can only happen when we have faith, the strength of character to make a new statement in the world, and the ability to concentrate and be quiet. as kind of echoes in very shorthand what I took a long time to say about the astrology. But anyway, let's go to the card, Goddess of Discs. Look how still and peaceful she is, right, with her poppies. So let me get the book, The Red Threads Tarot by Linda Hill in Etsy, on Etsy in the UK. I think she actually took these down for a bit, but they may be back available again soon. Amazing deck. I just love it. But let me go to the Goddess of Discs, which is kind of interesting because there's two in this book, but I think one of them is the one from another book. I think that's the error I showed her. But anyway, this is the poppy. There's the poppy, which is about remembrance, but also kind of, if you think about the energy of poppy, it makes opium. It's kind of that letting go and kind of stepping into that transcendent kind of drugged up state, but you don't necessarily have to do it with drugs. Okay. I'm going to read you the quote for this card first, and then, well, a couple of quotes, and then the soul journey. As soon as healing takes place, go out and heal somebody else. That's by Maya Angelou. And then each of us has a unique part to play in the healing of the world by Marianne Williamson. The poppy goddess is a powerful healer, wise and always keen to add to her vast knowledge. Here is a kind and compassionate energy that reaches out if you need care and healing. Patience and determination lies within her. Do you get the same theme coming up again and again, right? If something doesn't work, then another remedy can and will be found. This goddess can take your pain away on many levels. Such a calm, gentle, practical energy will always hold support and care. She will ask you if you are looking after yourself. Oh, I've never mentioned self-care, have I? Anyway, this goddess knows that none of us are free from addiction. Dealing with our addictive habits can only happen when we become aware of why we are using avoidance and substitution. Are you caring for your body and getting enough sleep? Vitamins, herbs, and homeopathic remedies derived from Earth's abundance are all part of a self-care pharmacia. Whatever works for you, I'm going to say. You may need advice or a visit to a trained practitioner. The poppy goddess encourages you to take great care of yourself spiritually, mentally, and physically. That's the positive side of Virgo and bringing that connection from the Pisces within so that you can become one who is whole unto themselves, your own goddess of discs. It's a powerful eclipse. There will be some releasing and big washing away. And it may be that you kind of just choose to have a big purge around your house of things that just feel like excess now. Like, I don't need this anymore. Let me pass it on. Let me give it away, whatever. Something will come up for you, but it's all really to move you into that state of more oneness with all that is. Much love. I will see you next time.